Let me just say it. Homeschooling is not about you. It's not about your routines, your carefully chosen curriculum, your love of living books, or your desire to feel like a good mom. As a Christian homeschool mom, it's about raising children to love the Lord even when they push back, even when you're tired, and even when nothing looks like you thought it would. But most of us were never told the truth about what this actually takes. We were sold a vision of morning baskets, cozy couches, and beautifully well-behaved children. But the mission, it's deeper and it's holier than that. So in this video, I'm going to share 20 harsh truths every homeschool parent needs to hear, not to shame you, but to free you. Because peace doesn't come from pretending. It comes from walking in truth. I'm Wendy, a homeschooling mama of 5, soon to be 6, and I've been at this long enough to know that homeschooling will expose your idols faster than almost anything else. It'll show you how much you crave control, how quickly you take your child's success or failure personally, and how easy it is to confuse performance with purpose. This video might make you uncomfortable. Not because I'm trying to be harsh, but because I wish someone had told me these truths sooner. If you're tired of chasing peace through Pinterest plans, or if you've been wondering why you feel so behind, you might not need a new routine. You might just need a new perspective. If that's you, go ahead and hit the subscribe. This is a space for mamas who are ready to trade pressure for peace and live with gospel-rooted intention. And if you want to go deeper, check out the free workshop I created, 5 Tiny Habits for a Peaceful Home, even when life feels loud. It's linked below, and it's for the mom who's ready to stop surviving and start stewarding. Let's get into these truths because they matter more than we realize. If your homeschool is built on your comfort, your control, or your image, it will crumble. I had to learn this the hard way. When things weren't going smoothly, I'd spiral. Because deep down, I believe my homeschool was a reflection of me. But this isn't a performance, it's discipleship. And the truth is, it's not about me. Homeschooling is not a stage for your identity. It's a field where seeds are sown slowly, often painfully, and for the glory of someone greater than you. And once you realize it's not about you, you'll also realize that how you show up each day shapes everything. A mama's heart can make or break the peace in a home. I've watched the same lesson turn into either chaos or connection depending on my tone, not my child's behavior. Your mood sets the tone. Your homeschool doesn't need perfect plans. It needs a mom whose peace comes from Christ, not control. Because kids learn more from your spirit than your structure. And that brings me to another hard one, especially for us type A, get it done mamas. Perfection is paralyzing. Presence is powerful. I used to obsess over the right curriculum, the perfect method. But you know what my kids remember? That I sat beside them, that I listened, that I was there. You don't need to be the perfect teacher, just a present one. Your relationship is more formative than your teaching style. Faithfulness is better than flawless execution. But presence requires something we often neglect. The best curriculum won't fix a tense, frustrated atmosphere. We switched math programs 3 times in 1 year, thinking the program was the problem. It wasn't. It was me. I was short-tempered, stressed, and snappy. The truth is that my emotional regulation matters more than any curriculum choice. The Holy Spirit in you is a greater teaching tool than any lesson plan ever will be. And if that one hit hard, well, this next one, girl, you better prepare yourself. When they succeed, you'll feel validated. When they struggle, you'll feel ashamed. That's not freedom. That's bondage. When your child has a hard day and you take it personally, you're carrying a weight God never asked you to hold. There were seasons when a rough math lesson would ruin my whole mood. Not because it was hard for them, but because I saw it as proof that I wasn't doing enough. I was afraid of what that said about me as a mom, as a teacher, as a parent who made the decision to homeschool. One thing that I had to learn is that if your identity is tied to your child's success, you'll always feel like you're failing. Your child's progress is not your identity. You are not the sum of your child's progress. You are a steward of the process, nothing more and nothing less. Your faithfulness is your offering. Leave the fruit to God. And speaking of progress, let's talk about what we call falling behind. I used to scroll Instagram and think, her 6-year-old is reading chapter books. Mine is still struggling with blends. Or her 5th grader is doing pre-algebra. Mine can barely do fractions. Thankfully, the Lord convicted me, and I stopped looking sideways and I started looking at my actual child. I realized I had missed progress because I was so busy being anxious. Panic sets in when we expect our children to grow on someone else's schedule. Comparison will make you panic, but God isn't working on a Pinterest timeline. The truth is, your child isn't behind. They're on God's timeline, not yours. God is not in a rush. Your job isn't to keep pace with someone else's child. It's to be faithful with yours. And even the smartest, most ahead kids, they still struggle. Gifted doesn't mean easy. One of my kids flew through reading and math, but melted down when writing. And for a while, I got frustrated because I expected strength to look the same across every subject. But the truth is, smart kids struggle too. Even strong learners need compassion. Your child is not a checklist. They're a whole person with strengths and soft spots. And some of their best growth, it won't come through busyness. Activity doesn't always mean growth. And boredom might be a blessing in disguise. I used to panic when there was free time. Now, some of my kids' best connections, ideas, imaginative play have come out of unstructured moments. Because the truth is, they don't need to be busy to be learning. Learning doesn't always look like checkboxes. Let them explore, think, and be still. It's not wasted. But let's talk about something harder: obedience. Discipleship takes intention. So does discipline. I used to correct behavior, but not train for it. I'd expect them to respond the first time I asked. But I wasn't practicing that in calm moments, only in chaos. The truth is, you can't expect first-time obedience if you never trained for it. Don't demand what you haven't taught. Train in peace so they know what to do in pressure. And remember, your words only go so far. What they see speaks louder. They learn how to handle frustration by watching you handle theirs. I saw one of my kids sigh and snap at their sibling. And I realized, that looks so familiar, because it sounded like me, especially when I was having a bad homeschool day. The truth is, your child will reflect what you model, not what you say. They're listening, they're watching, they're learning from your habits, your reactions, your tone. Let your example lead them. Now, let's talk about the home itself, because sometimes the environment is speaking just as loudly as we are. I used to think if the house was clean, it meant I was doing something right. But what I found is a lot of the times I was snapping at my kids just to keep it that way. That's not peace, that's performance. What I tend to see a lot is that we think that a tidy room means godly stewardship, when in reality, a spotless home can coexist with a distracted heart. Because the truth is, a clean home isn't proof of a faithful mom. The fruit of the Spirit isn't found in shiny floors. It's found in how we speak when someone spills the juice again. And even the best systems in the world can't fix what doesn't fit your life. I once spent hours building the perfect chore rotation. It lasted 3 days because it didn't reflect our actual rhythm. A beautiful chore chart that no one follows is just clutter. Because the truth is, if your system doesn't work with real life, they're not good systems. Stewardship starts with honesty. Your system should serve your season, not shame you for not being in a different one. And I really hope that you don't think multitasking is the key. Because trying to homeschool while cooking, while correcting, while folding laundry, it doesn't make you efficient. It makes you exhausted. When I finally separated my homeschool block from my home management block, everything changed. I gave each one my full attention and they both flourished. Because the truth is, you can't multitask your way to peace. Multitasking is a myth. Focus brings fruit. But even the most focused routines won't matter if your expectations are based on what your home looks like instead of how it functions. Homes built for ministry won't always look magazine ready because they're built for growth, not display. There was a season when I kept apologizing for the state of my home anytime someone stopped by. Then I realized my home wasn't supposed to impress anyone. It was supposed to be a place where people were formed. So the truth is, your home is a training ground, not a showroom. Your home exists to shape hearts, train character, host hospitably, and reflect grace, not perfection. And if that's true, then it makes sense that our systems and routines have to adapt as our people do. There was a year we used a curriculum that used to bring joy. Like we loved it so much, and the kids just thrived off of it. But this year, it just brought tears. It wasn't bad, it was just done. Clinging to outdated rhythms, curriculums, all the things is a fast track to burnout. Because the truth is, what worked last year might not work this year. And that's not failure, it's life. Be willing to release what once worked so you can embrace what's needed now. Seasons shift, so should your systems. But what about your calling? There were moments I caught myself being validated when someone said, "Wow, I don't know how you do it all." But the Lord gently reminded me, I wasn't called to impress, I was called to obey. It's easy to start homeschooling from a place of conviction, but somewhere along the way, pride can sneak in. We want to be seen as intentional, godly, and capable. But the truth is, homeschooling is not for your glory. Homeschooling isn't a platform, it's a posture. Your job isn't to be admired, it's to be faithful. And if that makes you feel small, that's a good thing, because here's the next truth. We carry the weight of our children's salvation, behavior, and spiritual growth as if we could force fruit on our own. I used to believe that if I taught all the Bible lessons, modeled well, and discipled consistently, my kids would walk with the Lord. But some days they don't. And I've had to remember I can plant, water, and pray, but only God gives the growth. Because the truth is, you are not the Holy Spirit. Your job is to be faithful in the sowing. God is responsible for the harvest. But if you're trying to carry all of it all the time, you're headed straight towards burnout. You can talk about grace all day long, but if your kids never see you sit, pause, or delight, they're learning that performance is what earns love. I realized that when we weren't doing school, I was still in constant motion. I never stopped. And my kids were seeing that as the norm for a mom. But the truth is, if you never rest, you're teaching your kids to idolize productivity. Rest isn't optional, it's obedience. Sabbath reminds us that God is still working even when we're not. But where do expectations and reality meet? You can spend hours researching the perfect curriculum, but no program will replace your presence, your prayers, or your patience. I used to think if I just find the right math book, this will all click. But I realized the curriculum is just a tool. It doesn't adjust to your child, you do. Because the truth is, curriculum doesn't teach your child, you do. You're not a curriculum coordinator. You're a mom discipling image. Your consistency matters more than the brand on the cover. And if things still feel messy and hard, you need to hear this last one loud and clear. We expect hard days to mean we missed something, chose wrong, or failed. But sometimes hard is just part of holy. There have been days I cried in the bathroom wondering, should I just put them in school? Not because I stopped believing in homeschool, but because I started believing I wasn't enough. But the truth is, there will be hard days. That doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. Hard doesn't mean you're on the wrong path. It means you're growing. Don't quit on your calling because it feels uncomfortable. Lean in, recenter, keep walking. If you made it through all 20 of these truths, you didn't do it because they were easy to hear. You did it because deep down, you know the calling is worth it. And sometimes what we need most isn't more encouragement, but more clarity. The truth is, you don't need to be perfect. You just need to be faithful. And faithfulness starts with facing what's real and surrendering it to the one who holds the results. So if this video hit you in the gut in a good way, I want to invite you to take one more step. I created the free workshop called 5 Tiny Habits for a Peaceful Home, even when life feels loud. And it's not fluff. It's real biblical rhythms you can start building right now to stop the spiral and walk in peace. The link is in the description. Grab it when you're ready and let me know in the comments which one of these truths hit you the hardest today. I'd love to pray with you and walk this road with you. You're not alone, and the fruit of your faithfulness, it's coming, even if you don't see it.